Roe v. Wade was a turning point in the history of human rights. The original 1973 case and the 2022 overturning both deeply impacted the country as a whole. It affected all generations and races, along with causing political divide within our country. In 1973, Norma McCorvey, better known as Jane Roe, challenged the law of Texas, which stated that a woman could only get an abortion to save a mother's life. Roe and a doctor who thought the law was too vague for doctors to follow went to court. It was argued by Wade's side that under the 14th Amendment, a fetus was a life, so it was illegal to end the pregnancy and kill that life. But the Supreme Court ultimately decided that the U.S. Constitution gives people a right to privacy that protects if an abortion is a personal choice. The 1973 case didn't completely legalize abortions, but generally protected the right to one. The topic of abortions has always been controversial, but the controversy rose in 2022 when the case was taken to court again. The 2022 court decided to overturn a law that had been in place for almost 50 years. They decided that an abortion was not a constitutional right and gave states the right to make their own laws on abortion. 21 states banned or restricted abortions earlier than the previous standards set by Roe in 1973.
Hi, what's your name?
So my name is Noé Monares, my pronouns are they, them, and I work at Planned Parenthood as the Knoxville Health Educator for East Tennessee.
What is an abortion?
What we consider an abortion is basically the termination of a pregnancy.
What can you tell us about the decision for the original 1973 case and how you think that both cases, including the 2022 overturning, affected people?
So that means they can now use that to overturn other rights and other legal protections that we have. Abortions and pregnancy treatment, it disproportionately, which means it mostly impacts non-white folks, right? So usually poor black people, poor brown people, immigrants, working class, rich people. If you have money, you're always gonna find a way to get what you need, right? So it's impacted people primarily by creating a lot of structural barriers, right? So a lot of people now have to travel out of state to just even have an appointment.
Are you aware of Tennessee's current laws on abortion, and are there any exceptions for things like rape or incest in Tennessee?
I do know the state law on abortion. No, we do not have exceptions for rape or incest. To save the pregnant person's life, to preserve the pregnant person's physical health, and if the fetus is not expected to survive the pregnancy. The burden of responsibility is now on the doctor to be able to actually prove that the abortion would have actually saved her life, right?
Why do you think the other side has the viewpoint that they do?
It really ties back to their value system. So a lot of them have their value system based on, built off of their religion, right? Or their spirituality. Comes down to the point where they have to navigate that space between protecting an individual that's already alive and can receive care, continue surviving, and help others, versus prioritizing an idea or control over another individual over their actual autonomy and agency. So Roe v. Wade was life-changing and just overall globally transformative, which then translates to reproductive movements all over the world to also promote the idea that women can be independent.
While the number of legal abortions didn't change after 1973 to 2022, the number of deaths from abortions dropped dramatically. The U.S. abortion rate did reach a historic low in 2017 after the highest point being around 1981. The average pregnancy is about 40 weeks and fetal viability is around week 23, and around 2/3 of abortions happen before 9 weeks and 88% happen in the first 12 weeks. About 56% of people having abortions are in their 20s, and less than 0.2% are under the age of 15. 49% of people having abortions are considered poor, and 26% more are considered to have a low income. Black women are also affected much more than any other race. Black women make up 13% of the U.S. population, but they have over a third of reported abortions in the U.S.
Hi, what's your name?
My name's Father Richard Whitney. I belong to the Paulist Fathers.
What is an abortion and what does it mean to you?
I would argue that if women felt safe and knew that they were going to be cared for all through pregnancy, this wouldn't be an issue. This is something that leads to deeper problems within our society.
Do you think the Catholic Church and you yourself would be more open to the idea of an abortion if the person getting one was a victim of something like rape?
Yeah, rape is, it's such a personal question between the mother and how she's doing and what the pregnancy will do to her. The church doesn't like abortion, but that doesn't make it a non-messy issue.
How do your religious beliefs affect your opinion on the topic?
Well, that's where they start. If we believe that life begins at conception, then abortion is necessarily murder. So if we start from that point, abortion is always going to be morally questionable at best, absolutely wrong at worst.
It started as a peaceful pro-choice rally meant to fight what they call a wave of extreme abortion bans across the country.
My name is Beth, and I'm 56 years old.
What were the laws for abortion at the time you got one versus now?
It was certainly completely legal. No one really even talked about it much. And of course now in Tennessee it's illegal.
What led you to get an abortion, and was it an easy decision?
I was going to go to graduate school a year later, so there was absolutely no place in my life to have a baby, and it was an incredibly easy decision. Like they say, you're killing a baby. Okay, I understand why they would feel that way. I guess in my mind, like when I had an abortion, it wasn't a baby. It was a cluster of cells. To me now, it's not the abortion issue. It's the who gets to tell you what you can do with your body issue. It's about bodily autonomy.
Roe v. Wade's impact on the world still affects us to this day by creating political and social barriers shown in these tweets by various celebrities and political leaders.
Hello, what's your name?
My name is Sharon Harden,
How old were you in 1973 when Roe v. Wade took place?
29.
What do you remember from that day, and how did you and the people around you react?
When I did learn what it was all about, my first reaction was shock.
As a mother of a daughter and a grandmother, how do you feel about the change?
I believe abortion should be available. I do not think it should be used often or as a means of birth control. It should not be an easy decision. My dream is for every child to be a wanted child. And in that regard, I have to say I would have to approve abortion. If somebody doesn't want a child, will that child be raised to be loving?
Like in lots of political conflicts, propaganda has been used from both sides. The propaganda used, both digitally and physically, carries very strong messages through art that can be universally understood. Roe v. Wade is a turning point in the history of human rights. It will continue to affect all generations, create new debates, and impact how we approach other laws. Roe v. Wade reflects our commitment and differing views about human rights.